we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining another edition of the GoDaddy Pro Meetup. We are here to help those who build websites for others do so more efficiently and do so with the tool sets that they need. So today we have the honor of having Brian Richards from WP Sessions, which is a very successful membership site. He also runs, utilizing WP Sessions, WordSesh and WooSesh, which we just got done with WordSesh. We're heading into WooSesh in Q3, I believe, maybe Q4. But I'll let you tell us more about that. So I'm going to let you take over, and then I will come back at the end for announcements and other fun stuff.
Sounds like a plan. Well, good. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about membership sites, continuing, capping off, I think, the series we've been running on membership sites here with GoDaddy Pro. And I think this is the right session for you to be in. And I can say that because you are here. That's not to besmirch the sessions that came before mine. You should also go back and watch those. Each of them provide a very useful prerequisite that I'm going to kind of build upon here. So first, since this is a case study on WP Sessions, let's talk a bit about what WP Sessions is and what I expect you to get from this. And so first, we need to make a quick pit stop here. I'm going to help you move from what I say is blissful ignorance into maximum awareness when it comes to building and or running a membership site. And I'm borrowing from a fellow named Eugene Schwartz, who developed these 5 levels of awareness, starting on the left-hand side, where a person is completely unaware that a problem might exist in what they're dealing with. They know that things aren't quite right, but they don't even know like what's wrong to be able to describe it to someone else. And then they move into being problem aware. They've identified this thing is slow, or this thing doesn't work the way I want, or I have a problem with this particular thing. I know that a problem exists. I know what the problem is. From there, we move into solution aware. You've identified what the problem is, and now you know, aha, these are ways that we might be able to solve this problem. And then the next step is product aware. These are the tools that we can use to solve this problem. There are products that exist that will fix this problem that I have. And then finally, the most aware. They are aware of perhaps your product or your service, the solution to the problem that they're experiencing. And I'm going to help you navigate this journey specifically for developing membership sites, whether that's building your own membership site solution or helping build that for clients. And as I continue here, so please do put this in the chat, are you here because you want to build your own membership site, or are you here because you want to build membership sites for other people, for your clients or for your employer or be? We'll come back around to that in a minute. So what is WP Sessions? I run WPSessions.com, as Sandy said, and it is a training website for WordPress professionals. You might be in that group. I haven't looked specifically at who's in the attendance here, but there's a chance that someone who is a member of WP Sessions is here watching me speak today. So hello, I'm glad that you have joined us. You may want to be a person who uses it professionally. You want to get better at using WordPress professionally. That is why WP Sessions exists. I started it in 2013 very selfishly. I had a problem that I had encountered for the first time. Couldn't figure out how to write a performant database query in MySQL. And I was really frustrated by this because this was 2013, like I said, and I had already been building websites since 1999. So I had a few years under my belt. And so it seemed ridiculous to me that I could have made it this far into my career and still have what seems like such a basic blind spot. How do you write just a basic direct query to a database? And I didn't know. I hadn't needed to know until that point. And therein lies the rub for all of us who are web developers. We have all been sort of self-guided learners. And so we've all developed our own unique blind spots. Nobody knows all the answers. Nobody has the same missing gaps. And I thought in the moment here, what if I could hire someone to walk through building databases that I could just pay for an hour of their consulting time, and they could answer any questions I have about interacting with a database? That'd be pretty darn useful. My coworkers could come with me because they're as dumb as I am, because if they weren't, they would have been able to answer this question as well. So yeah, we could all benefit from this. Maybe I could put this out to the public. I could sell some tickets. The person would earn maybe better than their hourly rate, and all of us would get smarter at the end. And that is how WP Sessions was born. It was me seeking out other experts who knew the things that I wanted to learn, and I pay them to teach me and everyone else who wanted to come and be part of it. And it started off as these one-off sessions, as I called them, where we would have maybe 2 or 3 speakers, or 6 in one case, who are each talking about a different facet of a particular topic. And then from there, it moved into a membership site where someone could join once and access every training, whereas before they were paying per session, sort of a la carte. And once I had moved into a membership site, it opened up this entire new world of possibilities to me. So it is now, and has been for several years, a membership site where someone can come and access everything. There's something like 220 hours of unique training material that spans development to design, services to a whole host of other topics. And as a member, you get that, you get discounts, etc. I promise this isn't just one long pitch for WP Sessions. I'm setting up the stage for what it is. And so it's an entirely digital experience. But so let me quickly walk through my tool stack, because everyone loves to talk shop and figure out what are the cool tools to use. And before I mention even one of these, I want to say to you, you don't have to use these tools. These tools are not the one answer. The whole point of all of this, as we work through that awareness chart that I showed you earlier, is to become aware of many different tools. We're going on a journey of problem discovery, really, and that's my favorite thing to do when I'm working with clients, is to help them find and understand the problems that exist with their business and how we can work together to solve those. So with that disclaimer out of the way, I'm going to tell you the exact tools that I'm using. I'm using WooCommerce to handle all of the sales on my website. And you may be wondering, Brian, didn't you just say that you're only running digital products? And the answer is yes. So why did you pick WooCommerce, which is predominantly for physical products? And the answer is because when I launched the website, it was the best tool that I knew of at the time. And I thought physical products as well as digital products. And in fact, I did. I sold a t-shirt for a little while. And I wanted to make it as easy as possible to be able to do both of those things from one interface. And so WooCommerce was the right solution for that. I also had years of experience working with WooCommerce at the time and knew I could customize it to do practically anything that I wanted. Other tools that you might consider instead of WooCommerce for running a membership site could be Restrict Content Pro, could be Easy Digital Downloads, could be PMP, Paid Memberships Pro. Jason spoke 2 weeks ago, and he has a brilliant product with Paid Memberships Pro, PMP. There are tons of different plugins that can solve this problem. WooCommerce, in fact, does not solve this problem by itself. So don't just get WooCommerce and think you've got what you need. On top of that, I'm using WooCommerce subscriptions because my membership requires billing in some sort of regular intervals. And so I needed subscription-based billing to take care of that part for me. I also now use WooCommerce membership, but that didn't exist when I launched the site. So I had to handle the actual membership side of things on my own. I don't need to do that anymore, but because I already have the code, I'm still using it. But WooCommerce memberships basically facilitates all of the membership things you might need in your website, for restricting access to content, to doing other interesting things on top of that, like providing unique discounts to the store that you're operating, for instance. We could get into the nuts and bolts of what it offers, but that's what I'm using to handle one aspect of the memberships on my site. And I'm also using WooCommerce memberships for teams. While I'm not doing it currently, I have historically sold bulk memberships that a company can buy for all of its members. And so one person pays for, say, 5 seats or 10 seats or 20 seats, and then they can dole out access to all of the different people on their team. I don't have to be involved at all. This just takes care of all of that for me quite beautifully, I should add. They have 2 options. Add each person by email, and that person gets an email that says, click this link to join the team. Or they have a link that they can just drop in Slack and say, all right, everybody, click this link and come and be a member. And then they can recycle that link and they can boot people out if they're no longer part of the team, etc. They have all of the management interface, and I don't have to do a lick to get it done. It's really nice. I'm using Mederic as well, which doesn't have anything to do with managing the memberships, but has everything to do with seeing the data from my sales in WooCommerce. It is a beautiful third-party service that makes it super easy to pull out reports and figure things out like, when someone joins as a monthly member on my site, they usually hang around for 2 to 3 months before they cancel their membership, which means that I theoretically have 2 to 3 months for any given monthly member to encourage them to become an annual member to stick around. And for my annual memberships, I can see that they too stick around for 2 to 3 renewals before they're gone, which would suggest if I offered a lifetime membership that was, say, 4 years, the cost of what a 4-year membership would cost, I will make more money per customer. And it does a whole host of other things that I absolutely love. If you or anyone you know runs a WooCommerce site, you should tell them about Mederic. And we can come back around to that during Q&A if you want to know more about why I love it so much. I'm also using ConvertKit for handling all of the email correspondence for my memberships. So I can welcome people to their membership and send them a few messages over the course of the first week or 2 to let them know, here's this thing that you should find out, here's this other thing that's, that you get as a member, and things like that. It's also what I use for all of my newsletters, which I am not currently sending, but plan to resume sending soon. And then finally, I have a whole bunch of custom code because I am first and foremost, or at least was first and foremost, a web developer myself, and I love building things. And so I was able to launch this very effortlessly by writing just a tiny bit of custom code that took care of the access restriction to the content on my site. And so a quick aside on how that all works is we've got the products that people can buy, which used to be each separate session when it was a la carte, and is now just a monthly membership or an annual membership, depending on which they choose. And being a member then grants them access to all of the session posts that are in the WordPress site. And so I have just a amount of logic that says, is this person signed in? No, ask them to sign in then. Yes, okay, are they an active subscriber? Yes, okay, then they can see the content. No, okay, then tell them they need to become an active subscriber to see the content. And that's basically all that it does. It had, well, still has a whole bunch of additional logic depending on which product a person had bought for handling the a la carte side of things, because you could buy an individual session, you could buy a group of sessions, or you could buy IP pass to all of them. And so I had to have a bunch of custom logic to sort out which product did you buy? Does that product give you access to this piece of content? Yes or no? But like I said, the WooCommerce memberships extension takes care of that. So I don't need to have that custom code anymore. It's just there because it keeps working even without me. So that's a lot of what's running WP Sessions and how it operates. The sort of framework for this is as, because I am a single person operating this business, and I wanted to make it as easy as possible for me to manage and maintain. And so that's why I moved away from all memberships, and why my memberships are as bare bones as I could make them. You sign up as an annual member or a monthly member, and you get access to all of these different types of content. Sessions, courses, and discounts specifically on my site. There are no physical goods, though I could add those in because of the tech stack that I'm using. And there are no external perks that I have to worry about managing, though I am planning to integrate perhaps Slack for a community component of running this membership site. So I've got this very simple baseline that I am able to use as a measuring stick as I think about other people's membership sites. You may have other membership sites that you've encountered that you are a member of, or that you have helped build, or that you have seen in one form or another. Poststatus.com is another super popular one in the WordPress space, sort of the who's who of WordPress business owners. And GoDaddy Pro is, in effect, a membership thing where all of us are able to access all of these things. Not the same exact idea, but also is, right? Depending on which lens you're using to view the world. Looking back at the chat, I see that there are a bunch of you here who want to build your own membership site. So I'm excited to empower you to be able to do that. I also see a number of people who want to build websites for other people. So I have a whole bunch of questions that we're going to work through to help you build a framework for about and understanding these membership sites. And before we these, thinking back to the diagram we saw earlier, right, of moving from unaware to problem aware to solution aware to product aware to most aware. Anytime something for yourself or for a client, you immediately begin or should begin in that unaware square of I don't know what I don't know, and I therefore don't even know what the problems are going to be that I encounter. I like looking at things through fresh eyes and thinking about them as a first-time explorer. And by answering a series of questions, or asking a series of questions, in the case that you are building this for somebody else, you can start to move naturally from unaware to most aware of solving the problem at hand. So when we're talking about membership sites, the first thing we need to know, what kind of membership site are we dealing with? And that's the question that Jason answered 2 weeks ago in his session here for the events. And so if you missed his presentation, you should go back and watch it, because he covered a ton of different types of membership sites and sort of the shape that they fit in. And I'm going to expand on that and talk about the technical needs of those. He got into that a little bit. I'm going to give you some different questions to think about. So first one I want to know is, are there multiple membership tiers for this membership that we're selling? And by that, do I mean, is there a single membership that they can buy, right? It's binary. They are a member or they are not, like being a member of your local Rotary Club or for your local, right? And any of the things that you might be a member of. Or are there different tiers? If you think of like Boy Scouts, right? You start out as Tiger Cub, Cub Scout, Webelow, etc. In the case of a membership site, right, you could have a gold, bronze, silver type of tiers. In my case, I have a monthly membership and an annual membership. The things that a person gets are basically the same in both, but they are two different tiers. The differentiation, they are different based on price and billing. The differentiation between them. English language is sometimes hard for me to master, in spite of speaking it my entire life. And so once we've established, are there multiple tiers or not, I want to know, what is the primary value it's from this membership? What is like the most important thing that they gain from being a member? And this is usually kind of touchy-feely, like, why does this membership site exist? But it also helps get to the core of what problems is it solving and who is it serving and why do they care? And knowing what the primary value is, in the case of WP Sessions, it's you get access to 200 plus hours of exclusive training content. And so that informs me, okay, video is a very big deal for this particular membership site. So I need to pay particular attention to delivering a good video experience to the member. And spoiler alert, WP Sessions, I would say, doesn't currently deliver an amazingly good experience for consuming these videos. It's something that I'm working to correct this summer, and I have a lot of things in the work that I think are going to make it absolutely phenomenal. But at the moment, it's sort of up to you to find the video that you want to watch, click on it, and then it opens in the page, and then you watch the video. No interactive transcripts, no easy way to search, no way to look at videos grouped by topic. These are all the things that I'm fixing. And so starting with what is the primary value helps you very quickly identify the most important part of the memberships that you're building. And spoiler alert, it's probably not going to be the actual membership component. As I mentioned, there are tons of tools that we can pick from, and I can rattle them off, and we can talk about that in the Q&A. But the delivery mechanism, the means of managing the membership, while important, are not the most important thing. The most important thing is the member experience, and to deliver a good member experience, you have to know what the primary value is for the membership site, for their membership. And then after we've established what is the primary, most important value, I also want to know what are all the other benefits. What is everything that a person gets by becoming a member? And if it's different per tier, what do they get in each tier? That's a very important question to answer because it informs you, helps to inform you of which tool may be the correct tool for you. Restrict Content Pro, Paid Memberships Pro, WooCommerce memberships, all of these give you more granular control over different tiers of memberships that you wouldn't necessarily get out of the box if you're just saying you're in or you're not. And so working down the list of like, what are these benefits? Well, do they include digital goods? When I join as a member, do I get access to ebooks? Do I get access to videos? Do I get access to blog posts? Are there digital things? Blog post is the wrong example here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But are there digital things that I can download and possess? If yes, we have to come up with the correct way to restrict and deliver those. And do we need to monitor that? Would be a good add-on question. Do we need to see that a person has downloaded their goods? How many times, when, etc.? Is that important data to have, or isn't it? It might be good data to have if someone is, if there's a high rate of refunds on the site, because then you can say, look, you downloaded all of the stuff. I have the logs here. So you have fleeced our website and taken all of the value, and now have asked to cancel. We can't, in good faith, give you your money back because you have the stuff. Also useful if they've just straight up filed a chargeback, which is a very common tactic because people don't understand that they can just ask politely for a refund. And then you can take those receipts to the and say, look, they signed up at this time. They downloaded all of these things at each of these times. So they got what they signed up for and shouldn't win this chargeback. But also maybe it doesn't matter. In my case, I'm not tracking whether or not someone has downloaded anything. And if they ask me for a refund, I will give it to them cheerfully because they obviously aren't the kind of person that I want as a member and aren't getting the kind of value that I want. And so here's your money. See you long. See you later. And are people downloading these things or not? Next, does the membership include physical goods? And this is a very important thing to know because this opens up an entire can of worms when we start dealing with shipping physical things around the planet, keeping track of physical addresses. As a company that's only dealing in digital goods, I don't have to ask for your billing or shipping address, which makes my checkout experience extremely kind. I ask for your name and your email address, your preferred password, which I didn't used to ask for, and then people got caught up trying to set a password, and then your payment method. And that's all I need to know for running what I do. But if you're running physical goods, you absolutely need to know where the person is in the world so you can send them the physical goods. Not only that, you also have to figure out, well, are these shipments for the physical goods one time? So a person joins as a member and they get a welcome kit with a bunch of swag things, or is this a recurring thing where they're getting a box set every month or every quarter or once a year? Right? Subscription box services have been a pretty popular thing where you can, right? Fruit of the Month Club has been a joke to, the punchline to many jokes over the years. But you can sign up and then you get a box of fruit every single month, right? Maybe that's the type of membership site that you're building here. So you need to know what does it look like to send these things. My friend Daniel Espinoza, who runs growdevelopment.com or .co, has to help multi-million-dollar stores deal with recurring deliveries, which maybe the billing and the delivery dates are divorced from one another. We ship things on the 1st of every month, but the billing is on the 15th of every month, or at some random interval, right? We don't know when the customer is renewing, but they renewed at some point in the previous month, which means that on the 1st of this month, we need to send them a new package. Or we need to coalesce and make sure that everyone's subscription renews on the 1st of the month so that we can deliver stuff starting on the 2nd of the month after the payment has cleared. There are tons of other questions that we could get into on this. And if people want to know more about physical goods and recurring deliveries, we can come back to that in the Q&A. Do memberships include dripped content? This is what I was talking about with the blog posts earlier. Are there pieces of content that people should get at specific intervals after they join? So maybe the membership is that they are essentially buying a course that over the next 30 days or the next week or the next 2 weeks, whatever the interval is, every day we are dripping to them a new piece of content that helps them master whatever it is that the course is about. And then the ongoing part of being a member is that they get access to a community or some office hours with you or an instructor of some type, or they're getting a series of emails, right? There's some trigger from them joining to when they unlock each piece of content. That's an important thing to know because that informs and limits which tools you pick in order to deliver that membership experience. And this would ideally be revealed right away as you're talking about what's the primary value. What is this membership that a person is getting? Very closely related to everything I've been talking about just now is, are these memberships tied to a subscription? Are we billing them on some sort of regular interval, or do they pay once and then they're for forever? That course example that I just mentioned may be an example of something that someone has paid for one time. They bought the course. They are a member of that course, of the cohort that you opened up. They get to join the community. They get office hours for some limited period of time. They get all the content, etc. They never have to pay again, but they will be a member for life. Or is it like my site, where they're paying every year for all of the new content that comes out that year, everything that's ever been done? Or in the case of a monthly membership, they're paying every month, which leads me to the next question that I just, what are the subscription billing intervals? We need to bill daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, or some other weird, arbitrary repeating sequence. Knowing what these are also, again, informs how you set up the subscription. I can tell you from experience that the WooCommerce subscriptions extension makes the billing interval part super easy and beautiful. And I meant to mention way back when I was talking about the tools from my website that by and large, the tools that you pick to run a membership site are not that important because you can change from one set of tooling to another at any point in time, with one very, very important caveat, which is if you are running subscriptions through PayPal, which I would argue you should, because it opens up an entire customer base that you may not have access to if you're only accepting credit cards. Changing subscriptions in PayPal has been more or less an absolute terrible process, and everybody hates it. And it's one of the chief reasons that PayPal gets a bad rap for membership-based sites. However, they have made great strides in improving the product in recent years, and there are ways that you can change a subscription after the fact. In fact, to continue with the example of my site, and using WooCommerce subscriptions, they have a how-to guide to set up a subscription through PayPal that you can modify after the fact. So if your membership changes from, say, $15 per month to $20 per month, that is a rolling change across all of your members. Or if you need to skip a month, we'll come back to that in a minute, or do anything else like pausing their subscription, you can do all of those things. And that's super helpful. The most important thing is that you have the subscription token, which you can then reconnect to whatever other tool you are moving to. So it is possible to move subscriptions in PayPal and practically anything else, but you probably don't want to do it. So the one tool that you really want to be sure that you have picked correctly is the piece that's the mechanism for those billing intervals. And then everything else you can change as you go, as your needs change. That's another reason that I really liked picking WooCommerce at the beginning, is because it's super versatile. And I can bring in extensions that do different things that I might need, or I can write my own because I am a developer and I know about all of the different hooks that exist within the code base, so I can tap into what it's doing and change things. Last week, the webinar was about how you can further extend WooCommerce to do amazing things. And so that one's worth your time if you're thinking about using WooCommerce. But it's also not, it can be very heavy-handed if you're just running a basic membership site, which is why I will often point people towards Paid Memberships Pro or Restrict Content Pro or Easy Digital Downloads or a whole bunch of other different tools. Next, another very important one. Can members change their own subscription? So if we're offering multiple subscription options, can they take care of this change themselves? They signed up as monthly, they want to become annual, or vice versa. Or do they need help to do that? Do they need an admin to say, yep, let me change your subscription on your behalf? That's an important question to know up front, because once again, it informs which tool you want to pick so that this does not become a pain point for managing the site. Or how about, can members pause their subscription? They have a monthly subscription and they love it, but they're going to be gone for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and they don't want to pay for this subscription because they can't use it. Ideally, you do give them the option to pause that, because their only other course of action is to cancel their membership, and you definitely don't want them to cancel a membership. So you need to figure out, should we allow them to pause their membership? And if we do allow them to pause their membership, well, for how long can they pause their membership? How many times per year can they press pause? What's the maximum duration of pausing this thing before we either re-engage the membership or cancel the membership on their behalf? And then a whole bunch of other questions related to that you may want to mine. And then if we are changing from one subscription to another, how should proration be handled between those two subscriptions? They paid for this month 2 days ago, and now they're joining as an annual member, which means that they only used 2 out of 30, what is that? 6% of their billing. So do they get the other 94% of that money that they spent towards the thing that they're doing? Or do they get the time, right? They've gone from a monthly membership to an annual membership. Theoretically, that annual membership should begin 1 year plus whatever's left of their monthly membership from now. So if they renewed 2 days ago, then their annual membership should resume in 28 days and then renew a year after that? Or do you say, forget about it, we're not doing any prorated things. They signed up 2 days ago and they changed their mind. Well, that $15 that they just spent is forfeit. They're now an annual member. I prefer to do prorated things, and to provide another example of how WP Sessions as a membership site is not a perfect membership site, which makes it a fantastic case study. I allow people to change memberships when I run, say, special pricing. I just finished running WordSesh, which Sandy mentioned, and people could join at a 50% discount. And there was a very small window where people could join at a 60% discount, which is way lower than I've routinely offered elsewhere. And so I had people who were already members who purchased this much lower permanent discounted rate. I didn't have a good mechanism in place that lets them essentially transition from their current membership to the new membership. So what ends up happening is they now have 2 subscriptions. Original one, which might renew, say, 2 months from now, and the new one that they just signed up for. And so what we just went through, my assistant and I, is we reconciled everyone who had subscription, so that if they had 2, we reduced it so they had 1, which in most cases looked like canceling their original subscription and then extending the renewal date of their new subscription to include the time that they would have had. So the example I just mentioned of someone who would be renewing 2 months from now, well, we canceled that subscription, it's not renewing at all, and then we add those 2 months onto their new subscription. So instead of renewing a year from today, it renews a year from 2 months from now. Or thinking about it another way, we just took their original renewal date and we pushed it out a year. So if their renewal date was going to be 2 months from now, it's a year and 2 months from now. However you want to think about it, in the end, they have a single subscription at the lower price point, and they get all of the time that they've already paid for. So all of the time they paid for from the original subscription, plus the additional year that they just signed up for right now. I just feel like that's the right way to take care of people. Whoops, and I just took focus away from my slides. There we go. Next, can teams join? Does that make sense for this membership? Are we selling it to companies who would want their entire team to join? And if the answer is yes, do we allow them to purchase a bulk subscription that lets them have multiple seats at one time? My answer to this is, well, if it does make sense for teams, yes, you should make this possible. And in my case, I had software already written for me by way of the WooCommerce memberships for teams add-on for the WooCommerce memberships add-on for WooCommerce. That's a mouthful. And that makes it super easy, as I said, for someone who is the manager of the team to sign up and say that I want 5 seats or 10 seats or whatever it is that they're going to buy, and then assign them out and they take care of all of the management. It's really nice. But maybe it doesn't make sense for you to offer that. And so, no, everyone has to sign up by themselves. Once again, it's a question you have to ask and a question you have to answer so that you can make the right decision for how you're building this membership site. And then one that is often overlooked, and I have toyed with and forget repeatedly to make more easy to do, can membership sites be gifted? Can you, big fan site, buy a membership for your best friend or colleague? At the moment, not really, but there are a bunch of ways you could enable this. You could sell gift cards on the website. You could sell a membership that can then be reassigned. Technically speaking, there are an infinite number of ways that you could solve how do we allow for gifting of memberships. But the point is, you should figure out, can they be gifted? Would someone want to gift this? The answer, again, is probably yes. So how do we make that as easy as possible for them to do? Probably the easiest way is to sell a gift card that can then be redeemed in the total amount of what a membership is. But maybe you want to do it some other way. the exact technical solution, as I said, doesn't matter so much, but you should be prepared to have one ready to people who are shopping your website, and even suggest it to them, right? Especially as we get around holidays of, hey, do you like your membership? Have you thought about giving it to someone else? Well, here's what happens if you give them a membership. They will be your best friend. They will love you for reasons X, Y, and Z. They are going to get, as a member, X, Y, and Z, the same wonderful benefits you enjoy. And then perhaps even you, as the gifter, are going to get this, that, and the other thing, right? Maybe you offer a promo where it's a one event. They become a member and they give a membership away. Another thing that I've considered over the years is to do this automatically, to build in the idea of scholarships for the membership site that you're running. For every membership that we sell, we also give one to someone that we believe needs this, but lacks the means currently to buy their own. That's a really great way to help explain and justify why your membership rate costs this amount of money. Instead of saying like, you know what, let me try and make this membership price lower, you say, no, let me find a way to profitably gift a membership for every membership that I sell. So ask this question, answer this question, and then decide the right course accordingly. And then finally, I think, no, we've got two more questions that I want to give you here from the stuff that I've prepared. Will there be an affiliate or a referral program for the membership? Again, I would suggest the answer to this is yes, but maybe not yet, right? Like, this is a lofty dream. I think we might want this, but we don't need this at launch. That's definitely true. There are a lot of things that we've talked about in this question list that don't need to be part of the membership at launch, that the membership site can grow into over time. One of those things is a referral program of some sort. Maybe it is only for each person they refer, they extend the duration of their current subscription, or they expand the benefits that they have as members. Gmail, Dropbox, and a whole bunch of other services offered referral programs where you and the person who used your referral link would get more of whatever the service was. So in the case of Gmail and Dropbox, it was the amount of storage capacity attached to your free account. For other things, it might be that, hey, you just got 2 free months because you invited this other person to the platform and they signed up. And then in other cases, it's just cold hard cash. For every person that you bring to us, we will give you X% of their membership, either one time when they sign up or as a recurring gift. For every time their membership renews, you get X% of that sale. There are tons of tools that make referral and affiliate programs easy to run, such as Affiliate WP, run by my friends at Sandhills Dev. That one's super popular and super well featured and works with almost all of the different e-commerce and membership platforms in WordPress, or could be made to work with one if there's a tool that you like that it doesn't already support. But you may also be interested in exploring marketplaces. Shareasale.com used to be a very popular one. I imagine it still is. The benefit that they provide is here's a network of affiliates looking for things to sell. In my experience and the people I've worked with, just putting themselves into this marketplace isn't enough to attract affiliates to their store, and often doesn't attract the right kind of affiliate to their store. And it's really on them to promote this and valuable affiliates from their own network, which is why I like tools such as Affiliate WP. But nevertheless, think through, do we want to offer this? What are the perks for the affiliates? And how do we choose to deliver those perks so that we can increase our word of mouth and perhaps put some more value back in the pockets of our members? And then a good question to end with, or perhaps include as you're talking through the primary and secondary benefits, are there any other things that make these memberships unique for this site? In my case, Not really on WP Sessions. I mean, I have exclusive content that you're not going to find anywhere else, and discounts for other stores for products and services in the WordPress space. But that's not like unique functionality that I need to worry about. In the case of physical shipping of things, a really good case study that's actually on WP Sessions is a business called The Simple Jar. And I'm going to check very quickly. I think it's thesimplejar.com. Nope. Simplejar.com. Nope. They may not be around currently, courtesy of COVID, which would be pretty sad. Do one quick look here. Yeah, there's the Simple Jar. Well, in any case, a company in Denver specialized in sort of a unique food shipping and delivery service that started out in the Denver area and then continued to branch out further, where they were shipping their members mason jars of soup and salads and ingredients to make other things. And so it was a meal delivery service, not too dissimilar from HelloFresh or Dinnerly. And they had a bunch of interesting and unique problems to solve as far as a membership site goes. This is one where they did want the renewals to happen on the same day of every month. And it was a weekly billing interval, and people could skip a week or two. And so they needed to have a mechanism for skipping a week, and a mechanism for pausing, and a mechanism for changing the billing date so that everyone got billed on Monday so that all of the deliveries could be sent on, I think it was Tuesdays. I think they also had things being shipped back to them. So they would ship out full mason jars and receive back empty mason jars so that they could keep their ecological footprint low. And it brought with it a bunch of very interesting problems to solve from a development perspective. And so the case study that was part of WooSesh a couple of years ago really opened my eyes to what a subscription site, a subscription membership site might need in order to fulfill what they were promoting to their members. So this is a very useful question to ask, because the client might not be thinking of like, oh yeah, we actually have this extremely technically complex thing that we want to do. But by asking them, hey, is there anything unique about this? And they're like, well, we're every Tuesday, so we need to make sure that all of the billing is completed on Monday. And you go, okay, that's not enough. What else is happening with these jars? Well, they're also going to ship them back to us, and so we have to keep track of that. Okay, yeah, that's not part of this membership platform whatsoever. And it leads you down a very interesting vein of questions to, what about this thing? And how about that thing? And how does this thing happen? So that as you're moving through, right, you end up with a much better picture of how the membership site is supposed to work. And so I think with that, I've definitely spoken for longer than I had planned to speak. So I'm going to pause here to make sure that we have an opportunity to answer any questions that are coming from the audience. So, Sandy, what questions do we have so far?
So far, in terms of innovation, what is one thing that you have observed in the diversification of instrumentation in terms of the ways, applications, or use cases of WooCommerce or WordPress ecosystem as a whole is being applied and used in development projects that are tied to key strategic business endeavors? Did that make sense?
It did. Someone is getting in all of their expensive words in one sentence. I'm going to take a long sip while I think of an equally educated answer to that very solid question. This harkens back to a workshop that I delivered at a conference a bunch of years ago, which was to make bending WooCommerce to your will, I think is what I titled it, and how to make WooCommerce do anything. I don't have a lot of data points that point to WooCommerce becoming more diversified over time, but I can say that it has always, from the very beginning, served a diverse set of needs. Because it's a WordPress plugin, because you can make WordPress do practically anything, you can make WooCommerce do practically anything. And I have used it personally on projects that are subscription sites and membership sites and physical product sites, a storefront. I used it as a registration platform for WordSesh until this year, as a matter of fact. And I completely customized the experience. You didn't even know that WooCommerce was part of it. You would get on the page and say, this event, and then you're taken to a page that asks, well, what's your name and your email? How long have you been using WordPress? What are your interests? And then you hit OK, and then you see the confirmation page that says, congratulations, you're registered. We can't wait to see you. Remember to add this to your calendar. And that was a static page, the checkout page, and the order confirmation page, respectively, completely customized. So I have seen WooCommerce serve a ton of different needs and scale tremendously to sites that were doing, I worked on one, and I forget the exact stats, but it was like multiple new orders per second. A crazy amount of volume that they were handling. I don't think I answered all of the parts of that question. Covered generally the diversification of, which is to say it's always been very diverse, and then the diversification of other tools, that has definitely been happening in recent years. There are a ton of specifically for membership sites and subscription sites. When I launched WP Sessions, I could count on one hand, I think, the number of different plugins that catered specifically to membership sites. And now I don't think I could list all of them, even if I could rattle off all of the ones that I know of. There are so many. I keep learning of new ones. So there's been explosive growth in the membership side of things, especially if you consider tools like learning management systems, LMSs, like LearnDash, Lifter saw an upgrade. Those technically have a membership component to them. And so there's just a ton.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Any recommendations around membership sites that allow for member-created content? They're looking to create their own page within a specific template and then manage public profiles with favorite pages created by other members.
Yeah, that's great. Another framework for considering that might be a classifieds site, right? Such as Craigslist is essentially this. You sign up as a user and you can publish your own content. In this case, it's an ad. And so for that, practically any form plugin for WordPress is going to help you solve that problem, or solve part of that problem, I should say. And I do mean practically any of them. Gravity Forms, Ninja Forms, WP Forms, Formidable Forms, a bunch. They all, in one way or another, allow for the form to handle the creation of a post in WordPress, and then you can choose what's the process like. Is it automatically published? Does it need to be reviewed by a human before it gets published? And even then, you can still use the tools of the form plugin. Well, you can send yourself an email notification as the admin. Hey, someone has submitted a new thing that needs to be approved. Or you can have it delivered in batches or whatever. In terms of curating sort of the favorites list, that depends on, I guess, do they mean the admins need to favorites of like, these are our favorites that other members has their own list of like, these are my favorites that I think other people should see?
It sounds like the members would be able to create their
so
favorites and have like a profile page type of a thing.
Yeah. BuddyPress is a beautiful tool. It can be super complex, but you can turn on just the few bits that you need for building out really robust portfolios on WordPress and membership interactivity. It's sort of like Facebook in a box, essentially. You can turn on as much or as little of the Facebook feature set as you want to grant people things. And I would imagine, I haven't looked in a long time, I bet there's a plugin for managing things like favorites within BuddyPress. And if there isn't one already, it is highly extensible and well documented so that you can write your own extension for BuddyPress for managing favorites. And I would probably, my first choice would be to glue together a few really good at handling one thing. So forms for handling the member generated content that theoretically are creating posts in WordPress or posts of a particular post type that you've created. BuddyPress for managing the profiles, and then some other thing for managing a collection of favorites. Even your own plugin, which is what I'm doing for my site later this summer.
And so someone else said that they stumbled into using memberpress, and it was for a client, but now they're in too deep to kind of come back out of it. Any advice to keep them from throwing themselves off the nearest height when it comes to BuddyPress courses? And apparently every time they turn on BuddyPress, it just kind of breaks everything. So like, have you ever tinkered, and what's the best way to kind of test and learn when you're dealing with some of these? I mean, BuddyPress, because a massive undertaking. What's the best way to kind of test that when you're dealing with these big add-ons?
Yep. So congratulations, you have inherited a massive headache, but don't worry, because you can dispatch the headache and eventually come to love the thing. MemberPress is a great plugin. The folks behind it, wonderful people, and I would probably any of the plugins that exist in the WordPress space. I happen to know a lot of the authors, and I know that they make good things, or they try to, and work really hard to make sure that people are well supported. So if you run into MemberPress specific problems, they have great support and can help you with those. Most likely, based on what you've described, you're going to run into integration problems of using MemberPress plus this other thing, which falls outside of the purview of the support that they're going to provide. They may still want to try and help, but they can only go so far based on where the problem lies. And yes, BuddyPress is huge and can break a bunch of things as you're turning it on. The best thing that you can have is a really good local development environment so that you can experiment with things at a rapid pace as you're trying things and hit refresh and just know immediately without having to move things to a server and deal with all of the network traffic. The next most important thing, paramount, you have to have both of these, is a good development environment on the internet that mirrors what the production environment is. Because a common trope is, well, it works on my machine. Like, oh, great, but the customers aren't coming to your machine, they're coming to our servers, and it doesn't work there. And so having the development environment that matches the server makes it very easy to see, yeah, it's good. It works here, will absolutely work here, because these are literally the same thing, whereas it might not work between your machine and the development environment. And so you have to figure out what the problem is there. I would definitely have a playground of some sort, however you do it, whether you set up what I've described or something else, where you can experiment with these things, because yes, absolutely, turning on BuddyPress wholesale is going to break a bunch of stuff, because there are a bunch of themes that are out there that have a lot of opinions on how your content should be structured and how your content should look, and that is probably going to clash with BuddyPress. MemberPress might also bring some of its own styling with things. It's been a while since I've used it personally, but in terms of combining MemberPress and courses, or MemberPress and BuddyPress, there are a few different ways you can do things, and it's also not. It's never too late to change the tooling that you're using. Even the example that I mentioned, where you've got subscriptions that are already active through PayPal, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so annoying to switch these over to some other subscription tool. It may nevertheless be less annoying than continuing to push forward on tools that aren't perfectly compatible with one another. You probably won't find tools that are perfectly compatible, and so you're always going to have some sort of wiggle room in what you're building. And so I would experiment said, I would have the dev environment for testing things before pushing things into production and going, oh no, it broke. And then in terms of tracing back what broke, a plugin that I absolutely love that's always in the toolkit of every website I ever work on is Query Monitor, which you may guess from the name is for monitoring queries to the database, but it does so much more than this. And the feature that I like the most from it, as a matter of fact, is being able to trace what template files are being loaded for the page that I'm currently viewing. And it gives you the full backtrace of like, well, we've got this template part and this other template part, and these were called by this thing, which includes this, which is all part of the, page-id-6.php file. And so it makes it easy to trace, where is this broken thing coming from? Where does WordPress think we are right now? And why is it not rendering this thing that I should see? And that feature is, it's not super obvious, right? Because Query Monitor sits in the admin bar and it gives you like query stats. You can click on that and see some other stuff. But when you pull up the full details, they also just redid the UI and I haven't explored it fully. But somewhere in the additional details for the page you're viewing, you can see not only which template file are we using, like archive.php, but also all of the individual partials that were loaded as part of that template file. And that is indispensable. So helpful for tracking down weird visual bugs on a website.
Awesome. Well, with that, we are at time. I want to thank you again so much for being here, Brian. For those that are not aware, this is a weekly meetup. And so we do these every single Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that, as we go into July, we actually are taking next week off because of the 4th being on Sunday. So it's the one time we're not going to meet. But the rest of the month of July is all about WooCommerce and learning management systems. So we'll be covering Lifter and LearnDash and all of those other types of ways to extend, whether it be extending your membership site with an LMS or just having a way to have courses and things on your site. So definitely continuing with the theme of Woo Summer. That's what we're doing this summer. So come back and catch up with us for that. And this replay will be online in just a few days, as well as some of the replays from the rest of this series. So you'll be able to check that out, and we'll send out an email to everyone just giving them links and everything. So look for that in your inbox. Thank you all for coming, and have a very wonderful day as you make the web.
Bye, everybody.